This is GMG Plus. Really interesting talks about Kentucky. Here we are at the first really interesting talks. But let's talk about ECG and PSE now. ECG was incorporated under Company Code 1963 Act 179 way back in 1997. But way before that, it started as a company known as the Electricity Department in 1947. Meaning that anybody watching this show right now, ECG is all you have known all your lives. And this company was responsible for providing power to the entire country of Ghana. Well, until recently when we heard the name PDS and then back to ECG. Are you confused about this? Many people are. Let's give you some clarification. Why did the company change, why did the power providers change from ECG to PDS and now back to ECG? Well, please welcome back to our studio, Emmanuel Wilson Jr. He's a convener, of course. He is here to give us some more perspectives on this matter and educate you as well. Good morning.
Good morning,
Emmanuel.
Kim. It's always good to be here.
Always looking young. Wow. You never grow, do you?
It's just the grace of God, I guess.
You know what they call the people who don't grow old?
No,
vampires.
I hope I'm not a vampire.
That's like Pharrell Williams, vampire, totally.
I hope I'm not a vampire.
Let's. I mean, you heard my earlier submission.
Yeah.
ECG is all we know all our lives
Yes.
since 1947. Then a couple of months ago, let's say give or take 6 months ago, we hear PDS. What exactly happened, and why did ECG, providers of power for the country, become PDS?
Okay, very well. So we had the Compact 1, Compact 2, as we call it. Now, where we have a country like the US giving us a package, and they were saying that, okay, so we have this amount of money to help you develop, but we want to agree on a sector that we can invest in. And so if it is the road sector, we agree on that is fine. If it is the housing sector, we agree on that is fine, and all that. The previous government had a negotiation with the American government, and there was an agreement to strengthen the energy sector, with particular reference to the electricity department. We wanted to ensure that there's an efficiency. We wanted to ensure that the leakages, financial leakages, are stopped, and wanted to also ensure that there is, a reasonable increment in profitability. We all agree that the key thing affecting the electricity company has to do with the distribution and the collection of revenue, where we have a number of companies not being able to pay, a number of connections that are illegal, and all that. And so the government agreed that let us ensure that we invest in the energy sector.
So PDS came about as a result of ECG's inability to mobilize funds properly and manage properly. Is that it?
That is what they said. That is the reason why. And so the PDS comes in and says, okay, if PDS is coming, what PDS is supposed to do is to ensure that all these weaknesses surrounding ECG, we should find a way of working around it. I use the word perceive because I personally have my own issue on that.
Let me ask before we go on, could ECG have been restructured to do a better job instead of floating
Exactly
PDS?
So. That is what I meant when I said perceive, because I feel that ECG as a state institution, if we had put in the right structures, we don't necessarily need third party, we don't need any private institution to come in and better PDS for us, okay? But we are not in the seat of
So PDS was formed
so
because
PDS
ECG didn't do a good job?
That because it is alleged or claimed that ECG is not doing a good work. So PDS comes in, that's where we have the distribution companies coming in. So what they do
what's the formation of this company? I mean, I'm asking this question as a layman.
Yes.
So we all know ECG, and the next thing is PDS.
Yes.
How did this company even come about?
So
who formed this company? Who are the shareholders, the stakeholders?
So the PDS comes in, and it is largely supposed to be a private-public partnership.
Okay.
Now, the private side, we have some foreign companies coming in, a company from Angola, a company from, how do we call it, the Philippines coming in, and then we also had some local companies coming in. Okay. Now, these companies come together, and then they form this PDS, okay? Now, before this government coming in, the original agreement was that the local companies, in addition to the foreign ones I have mentioned, the local companies, their total shares is going to be 20%.
The local companies,
yes,
20%
yes,
of PDS.
Yes, of PDS.
Okay.
Right. The current government comes in and says that no, we need to increase the local content, and by that, what they mean is that we should increase the 20%.
We have better control.
To have better control.
So this took the numbers to what, 51? Okay.
51%. Yeah. So that is how come we got to the 51%. And all of us on the surface, we agree because
but more
it makes
local
a lot of
content
sense.
Sounds laudable, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we all agree to it. Besides, it is also going to strengthen, no matter what, it is local owners. So it's going to strengthen that. They went through all the processes and what have you, and it ended up that 3 companies constitute the local content. And these companies are the GTS Power Limited.
Okay.
We have the Santa Power Limited, and then we have TJ Energy Solutions Limited. These are the 3. So in PDS, the local content or the local organizations are these 3 that I have mentioned. Okay. Now these 3 have got their own shares. For instance, GTS Power has 10%, Santa has 13%, and then TJ Energy Solutions has 28% of the shares. Okay. All right. Now, so be it. That is how it went.
That's for the local. So tell me about the rest of the 49%.
So we have the Meralco. Meralco company is coming from the Philippines. Okay. And then we have the Angolan one involved. So they consider 49%,
exactly. and the local content was 51%.
And the local ones are the ones that I have.
So what a stretch of was it 6 months of PDS's operation, approximately? So I dare say that if I dare ask that if ECG was asked to step aside for PDS, it means over the 6-month period they must have, tried to do a good job then.
Yeah, so the result is it is there for all of us to see. I'm not the one going to judge whether PDS this 6 months they have distinguished themselves beyond what
Did PDS do a better job than ECG within the 6 months?
It will be very unfair for me to make any assessments now because one, the time is very short, and then 2,
you have a bit of time. You can give me that.
No, I'm saying the time is very short in terms of their operational span. It's just about 6 months.
But I hear that during this period also, some of the local power contractors, for example, the Asoglis and the other small power providers that feed ECG, they used to feed ECG to provide power to the nation, they didn't get paid. So during this period of PDS operating, it means that clearly there were lapses in the system. You see,
there has been so many issues confronting the operation of the PDS. If you even go into the original agreement, which I have here, it's clearly indicated that before the PDS would fully take over, there should be an increment in tariff. It was there. Now, you all will agree with me that till just about last month or so when it was announced that there's an increment in tariff, there hasn't been an increment in tariff.
Since PDS took over?
Since PDS
So that was about 5 months without increased tariffs. What do you think that happened?
It is just because, for me, it's just because, one, largely the government of the day gave a promise that they were not going to increase any tariff when they assumed office. And so being scared that, well, if they do anything, there will be some backlashes.
So this is the government's promise against
an agreement between government and the PDS. You understand? And so if you get closer to the institution or the companies that forms PDS, they will tell you some of the frustrations that they have been through. Unfortunately, they are not able to put it in the public domain, for whatever reason, for business reasons and all that, they won't do that. But that is why I'm saying that from a distance, you may want to chastise PDS and say that, yeah, even with this PDS, they haven't done much and all that. But the truth of the matter is that if you really critically study what goes on, you realize that they seem to be, to a large extent being frustrated so much. Their hands seem to be tied and they are not being given the rope to operate as they should operate. But I wouldn't want to go into that much because then I will sound like I'm speaking for PDS. I am not.
Lastly, before the transfer,
yes,
the transfer of power, I mean, it's been stated that PDS received over $21 billion of assets from ECG, was supposed to be part of the management deal. And it means they essentially took over ECG.
Exactly.
Did this include the staff of ECG as well?
That is obviously how it's supposed to be. But you know that when there's always a takeover, there will surely be some casualties. Okay. I don't have readily the figures as to the number of old ECG workers that have fallen victims to this transition.
Did this affect jobs? Did it?
Clearly, it will. Clearly it will. No two ways about that. Even though the promise was that it wasn't going to affect any job, everyone is going to be secured and all that. But practically, surely it's affected.
Okay, fast forward 6 months later, 6 months after PDS, we are back to ECG, our friends from 1947.
So we are back
what
to,
really
we are back to ECG.
We getting back to ECG as power providers.
So with this little background where I made mention of the local content of 51%, we sleep, we wake up, and of course.
By the way, ECG is completely state-owned, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
So till just some few days, and let me put on record, Ken, that this whole impasse scandal that seems to be an albatross on our neck didn't just start some weeks back. I have documents to the effect that this whole thing, you know, the raffle, the fighting, in-house fighting, frustrations and all that, it started even way before the PDS fully taking over. Some months before, this confusions all started, okay? But it's just that I think internally they couldn't contain it that much. That is how come it has gotten today.
Let me ask you, I've read many of your write-ups, articles on different websites, and you're asking Ghanaians to come along with you as you try to determine the raw facts of this deal and fight for ourselves. Was this deal a fraud?
From scratch.
It was a fraud?
From scratch. A lot of things went deliberately unnoticed by individuals that we pay with our taxes to do due diligence and to protect our interests. From scratch, so many things didn't go on very well. And the reason why people closed their eyes were because they had an interest in it. So they said, okay, because of our interest and not the interest of the nation, let's close our eyes.
Is there personal interest in
it? Has always been personal interest.
Is there personal interest in the formation of PDS?
So this is where it comes. Let me get there and I'll get the answer. So right after, now we have these three companies, Santa, GTS, TG Energy. They are the local companies. They've gone through the process, what have you. You put their shares together, they form the 51%. Now, there is this one just around 27th, I mean, on the 27th of March 2019, just a few weeks into the operation, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, proposes that they are going to form a new entity called the SPV, Special Purpose Vehicle.
Okay.
Now, the SPV is supposed to be a new company, as I indicated.
Okay.
But this company is going to be in charge of these three companies.
That's from this consortium.
Exactly.
The three power companies,
yes,
the local companies.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what it means is that, okay, can you have a company, another person has a company, another person has a company. I come in and I say that the three of you, your companies, we are putting all together to form my company. So if we should go for board meetings, we should make decisions and all that, I go to represent the three of you.
Okay.
As
an entity,
exactly.
I go to represent the three companies. Okay.
So in reality, even though the three exist, when we go into the operations of ECG, PDS, Now, no one is looking for you, no one is looking for the other two. It is me they are looking for, because I represent the three of you.
So those three companies literally had no voice in
that
this
is exactly
deal.
what it's going to be.
And so their representative had all the power.
Exactly. So that is how
So who was their representative of those three companies?
We'll get there. So so Ken Ofori-Atta writes a letter and gives the letter to Akoto Ampao. That is the lawyer of the president, and tells Akoto Ampao, instruct Akoto Ampao that, look, ensure that this thing is done, okay? Now, this new company that is supposed to be formed, or the SPV that comes up, it is going to have different shareholders. Of course, the three companies, they will also have shares in it. But the difficulty here is that, remember, TG Energy Solutions had 28%, as I indicated.
Yes.
Santa Power had 13%, as I indicated. GTS Power Limited had 10%. This new entity that is going to be formed. Now, GTS Power Limited will be given 2%. Instead of the 10%, we'll be giving 2%.
They have been shortchanged?
TG Energy Solutions will be giving 4%. Instead of 28%, we'll be giving 4%. Now, Santa Power will be giving 5%. Instead of 13%, we'll be giving 5%. Okay. Now, I don't know about
from my curious mind, where's this rest of the percentages going?
So then it goes to other companies. We have TBK, World Plus Limited will be giving 15%.
So when was all those new companies introduced into the deal?
This is an agreement.
Because initially, you told me about the three companies that formed the local concern. Now it feels like they have been shortchanged with regards to the percentages.
So that is
they're supposed to get now.
That is the genesis.
Okay.
That is just where the whole issue
confusion started from.
Okay. And as I indicated, way from March, they were managing all these things. But I think they got to a stage where they realized that they can't manage it again. That is why it exploded. Okay. So now, how come all of a sudden, TG Energy Solutions, GTS Power Limited, Santa Power Limited have gone through the process, whether duly went through it or fraudulently went through it, they've gone through the process. They sleep, they wake up, and they are told that a new entity is going to be formed, and that entity is going to represent their companies. Now, this new entity, instead of having 28% shares, I'm now going to have 4% shares in it. Okay? Now, other companies or individuals are coming on board to be co-shareholders of these new entities. And these new persons and entities are going to own more shares than me, the original owner.
Of the deal?
Of the deal.
Yes,
how will it feel?
A little fishy to
Good.
me.
So the original organization,
the GTS and co.
GTS, Santa, TG, they started opposing this.
Oh, okay. So this is beginning to look like it's a stalemate, yeah? So explain to me, this is...
And remember where this whole interest is coming from. The powers that be. I mean, if you have the whole Minister of Finance directing someone to ensure that this new company is formed and all that, it should tell you where this whole thing is. So we have new persons that they proposed wanted to be part of the shareholding this. And as I indicated, if you go through the structure that they are proposing, you realize that no, it is going to create a lot of problem. Indeed, this letter, which was supposed to be given to MIDA, Millennium Development Authority, okay, where it says that ECG Private Sector Participation Transaction, Power Distribution Service Limited, and it goes on to say that currently the 51 shares of the company being held by this, it says, we would like to take this opportunity to inform you that in furtherance of the government of Ghana's policy regarding local content and participation in the ECG PSP transaction, the Ghanaian shareholding is in the process of being consolidated and will be held entirely by a Ghanaian entity. The Ghanaian entity, the initial Ghanaian shareholders are established, and it goes on. Furthermore, in addition to the initial Ghanaian shareholders in the entity, we will have the entity will have 3 additional shareholders as follows. It goes that way. And that is where we have the 15% and all that. Now we are saying that we want Ghanaians, new SPV, the new SPV is going to represent the interest of Ghana. Okay? But if you look at this, one person here by name, Anthony Otinjesi, is
Tony
supposed,
JC,
yes,
I believe, is the...
is supposed to own 15% of this new entity.
Yes.
I don't know how Tony JC represents Ghana.
Well, he owns a local company and employs a lot of people.
This is an individual, not even a company.
Oh, JC as an individual.
As an individual.
Yeah, I see over there. Anthony JC will be entitled to 15% of the company. TBK World Plus Limited would also be.
If you say that we want this new entity is representing Ghana, here, Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, it makes sense.
Yes.
Will be entitled to what?
10%.
Compared to JC.
Yeah.
Are you getting me?
Well, yes.
Now, then we have TG Energy that was originally having 28%,
has 5% now.
4%.
Has 4% actually.
Santa that was having...
TGS has 2%. That's...
Not easily.
I think there's a lot more to this. Well, well now the PDS has been asked to step aside.
So now they say that they should step aside.
No,
the reason why
the due diligence will be done.
The reason why it has gotten to this stage is because this proposal, when it went to the original owners, they opposed it. Indeed, if you see this letter, you realize that these individuals who were supposed to, this letter is supposed to have come from them, they refused to sign. It wasn't actually written by them. It was written, given to them to sign. Okay. And they went through the content and they opposed it. And that is where the whole fight started from. Okay, so if that is the case, and now you are telling me that you don't want us to come out with a new entity because you feel that you are going to be shortchanged, then this is what we are going to do. We are going to let the public know, because in the process, because some of us had some interest in these original companies, particularly with TG Energy Solutions. There were so many things that we closed our eyes on. A lot of due diligence didn't go through. We closed our eyes on a lot.
So is this PDS company dead now? They've been asked to step aside.
What the government,
are they ever coming back?
What the government intend doing, what I see from the information and fact I have, what I see the government intending to do is to paint PDS, particularly the local organizations, black, so that they get off, and when they get off, a new entity, the original intention which they had, of which Santa and Co. opposed, that will come into being. So when it comes into being, then it ends up that, okay, now virtually, even though we are bringing in a new company, some individuals in government who have strong interest in this new company and they have shares in this company, they will feel that, okay, now they are in charge now, because the new company is what has come into office. My worry, for which I have called and I'm calling on Ghanaians to come on board for us to see that we stop this whole scandal, is that yes, the original content, the original local content, there are so many abnormalities in the process, surrounding the process. But the truth is, government doesn't have a good intention by suspending them, because government intend introducing something new of which some individuals in government will have ownership of. You understand? Now, what is alarming again, King, I'm coming, is that this PDS agreement is for 20 years.
Oh.
It's for 20 years.
And it has just been 6 months so far.
And so if they succeed, they may not necessarily succeed in collapsing PDS. They may succeed in taking off some companies, the local companies, so that they can bring in their companies. That is the whole thing. So they want to take off some of the old companies and then bring in new companies. When they bring in the new companies, of which they now become the shareholders and the owners, I'm saying that when it goes through, as they are planning to do, at the end of the day, the agreement will be in for 20 years. It means that they may even go on pension. They may leave government.
But everything will still be all right.
Everything will still be all right. ECG is such a key sector, such an important sector that, look, anyone there who has just even 1% or 2%, you can imagine, look, if they should be able to succeed in this, is my last sentence, if they're able to succeed in this, okay, the next 20 years, annually, they will be making $134 million.
Sounds like a lot of money.
So you'll be sleeping, and this is what you'll be getting annually.
Emmanuel, what we'll do is bring you back as, this unfolds, We'll bring you back as this unfolds. This sounds more complex than it is. Thank you so much, Emmanuel Wilson Jr.
Thank you.
You really explain things to us.
Really, I'm happy to hear
We'll
that.
bring you back
Thank you.
as it unfolds.
Please,
thank you so much.
We are protecting Ghana and the interests of Ghana. This is not just Emmanuel Wilson's crusade. All of us should come.
It's for all of us.
It's for all of us.
Thank you so much. Emmanuel Wilson Jr. is the convener of COES, and he has been given his thoughts and what he knows about the PDS ECG deal. And so we'll bring him back as this unfolds. This has been GMG Plus. Thank you for watching. My name is King. I did this with Jackie Akoe, and thanks to the crew and everybody. Thank you all for watching. God bless. See you tomorrow. It's a Friday, and it'll be entertainment review.